including 100 virtual people, to be able to hear what you have to say. We're not going to repeat it for you, okay? So appreciate everybody's participation according to the rules of engagement. So our agenda today, we're going to go through an overview of recruiting. So this workshop, we've got to start with what we know, which is how we recruit not virtually, and then we can work into the virtually. We're going to briefly talk about diversity in our club, leveraging club meetings and activities for finding people. How is virtual recruiting different? And what we're going to do is have a panel that we will introduce shortly, who's going to help us identify how it's different. And then we're going to go into our breakouts, and we are going to identify best practices. We'll come back and we'll share. We will call on some tables in the room and some of the workshop or virtual discussions. And a heads up to the virtual discussion leaders, I emailed 3 of you 15 minutes ago that I'm calling on you. And then we're going to make sure that you each make one commitment to take home of what you're going to use in your club.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you the people participating in this workshop. Of course, you've met Sally Bean from the Zonte E-Club of USA 3. I'm Judy Kautz from the Zonte Club of Central Oklahoma. And we have at our table our very honored panelists, Karen Herman DeMuro, Zonte E-Club of USA 3, Becky Gimple, Zonte Club of Burbank area, and Sharon Hebert, Zonte E-Club of USA 2. Thank you. Now, we have a wonderful tool on the Zonte International website, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I recommend that you go and look under My Tools membership. It's also in the Add Your Voice area. And it's basically 100+ helpful hints for recruiting and retention. And so what Sally and I have done is to pick out some that we considered our favorites that we'd like to highlight to you. I'm only going to talk on 2 or 3, but one of my favorites is to create an invitation template for your club members who can email or share it in another email to a potential member. This is a great way to give them all the information. You could do a template for information on a upcoming club meeting or an activity you're having, and they can email it out. It's all preset for them, so it makes it easier for them to be able to invite other people. Another one of my favorites is to contact past members who maybe have left your club and communicate with them how we've changed. What are the favorite things that have happened since they left Zonte, and identify if they still have the same issues or if they'd like to rejoin. It's a great opportunity. And finally, schedule guest speakers at your meetings that will attract prospects who are interested in Zonte's mission.
And my favorites on the next slide are wearing your Zonte pin. When I was working, I would wear my Zonte pin the day of my Zonte meeting. And then I got questions from people in elevators and meetings, oh, what's that pin? And it was a way to open a discussion about Zonte. Well, then I realized, you know, if I wore this more often, I'd be bringing awareness more often and more people would see the pin. So I started wearing it regularly. And I had a club member who came, in my club at the time, we had this rule, if you forgot your pin, you had to throw $1 in the kitty. And that was to help people remember to wear their pin. And somebody came to work or to the meeting and said, oh, I forgot my pin, I have to put $1. And I said, well, why didn't you, she said something about running home and changing or something. And I said, why didn't you put it on this morning? She said, and wear it to work? What would my boss think? And so we had a little chat, with an internal chat among 2 Zontians. You know, what would your boss say? Your boss needs to know that you support Zonte and you're a member. And so it was quite a discussion and a real reinforcer for me to wear my pin often. Now I'm retired and I don't wear jackets, but I wear my more fun Zonte pins now. And another one I really like is sending the newsletter to someone who has come as a guest to your club, not once, not for only the meetings she's come to, but send it for a whole year. Keep Zonte in front of them for a period of time. And so then they're remembering Zonta once a month if you send a newsletter out. Otherwise, send them some kind of a greeting through some kind of social media on a regular basis until they break down and join, or ask more questions or whatever. And my final one is, I've had so much fun. I live in District 6, Area 2, or I did for many years. And we would do road trips from Janesville to Beloit or Madison or Milwaukee. We would just call up a club and say, we want to come to your meeting next month. We didn't care what the topic was. We were going for social reasons. And so I knew I was going to be getting a neat experience at that other club. But what I didn't know till I did it was the road trip was a great experience, just like driving to district conference together. So I really recommend that. If you have a club nearby, do that, and it's fun. Don't just show up though. You need a reservation, especially if food's involved. Okay, so now I want to talk just briefly about diversity. So we're a classified organization and there's a million classifications out there. And yes, I know there are some people that you're bringing in and what they do, you can't find a classification for. I went through that last year. But please bear with me for a minute. So you need to know what your club is looking for if you're going to go out and recruiting people, right? Otherwise, if you don't have an idea of what you want, you don't know where to start and nothing happens. So there's a lot of types of diversity, starting with classifications. So what classifications are not represented in your membership? Give that some thought. Think about it internally. Who do you know? Like I remember our club at one time had 3 funeral directors. Unusual, now we have none, but that was really something that I thought, wow, I knew women were in funeral directing because we had 3 of them. But for whatever reason, one by one, they left or moved and we didn't have that anymore. But now I'm aware that's a classification. So think about what you don't have and go look for it. Diversity in age. Look around at your club meeting and which ages are missing. Might be young people. We all want to bring in young professionals to make sure Zonta lives on for generations. But you might have other gaps. I remember when I joined Zonta, I was 30 or 31 years old. I clearly could see in the membership the next age was early 40s. So there was a very visible 10-year gap. They were all talking about menopause and I wasn't there yet. But I'm there now and I know what they're talking about. But they became very close friends for me. And I went to my second convention when I was in my early 40s with someone who was in her 70s. And we had so much fun. There was only one thing she didn't want to do with me. She was a great travel partner. And I just didn't do that thing that she didn't want to do. And then I want to talk about diversity of perspective. So that came up at the roundtables last night. We keep bringing in people like ourselves and we don't think differently. So if it would be so boring and we would not grow if we only brought in people who think like us. So let's not be discouraged by people that want to come in and want to do, they ask questions. Why do we do that? Can we do this differently? Can we do this? No, we did that 30 years ago and it didn't work. No, don't do that. That's how you don't get members. So whether it's people already in the club or people you're recruiting, you need to be open to different perspectives. Diversity in culture and diversity in race. Does your club mirror your community? If it does, you're going to get a lot further in your service, your advocacy, and your membership. If you're not mirroring your community, that's one of the gaps that you're missing, then now you know what you need to go do for recruiting. And there's other types of diversity I'm sure that we don't have on the slide. So think about what you want to bring into your club. It's a great first step. What are we missing? And then how do we get that? So I'd like to ask the whole group, and use chat online, please. How do you find people in your community to fit the club diversity goals? I'm looking for examples now. Please run to the microphone. Please put in chat. How have you done it? We want some best practices on how do you find people in your community for a gap that you've identified. And if anyone on the stage has an idea that you could jump in, but the mic's not on yet.
I'll start if you'd like.
Thank you, Karen.
Karen Patty from the Zonta Club of Sanibel Captiva. The Chamber of Commerce knows a lot of people. And if you're looking for an ethnic diversity and age diversity, they know the leaders in the community that want to get involved, and they're a great source of anything. Similarly, if you need an accountant to serve as treasurer or something else to fill your club out and be well-rounded, you might need a lawyer to help you with something. They're a great source of knowing. You can look in the yellow pages for accountants and treasurers, but they know the ones that want to get involved. So Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Karen. Great. Tammy.
I'm building on Karen again, as I did last time. Take the information you gather about what organizations are in town that meet or match Zonta's mission and find out what events they're having and go to the events. Introduce yourself around. Tell them about Zonta and how they match. When we were trying to expand our membership, one of our organizations were having brown bag lunches to just be able to have women in the community talk about issues. They'd have a speaker, you could talk. I went to those, brought a speaker from Zonta to it, and we got 3 or 4 members out of that introduction through that brown bag. So you just have to insert yourself purposefully into some of these areas where you'll meet different perspectives.
Thank you, Tammy. Do we have any answers in chat, Eileen? Your microphone? He's on his way to help. Here he comes to save the day.
Thank heavens for our tech people.
Okay, it's on. Here's a few comments. Emily says, accountants don't always want to be the treasurer. And she did do a smiley face. Trish says, thank you for saying that, Emily. I'm a professional fundraiser and I don't want to be the fundraising chair. Angela McDowell says, she's from District 6. Our club needs to work on diversity within the core competencies on membership growth and retention. That portion has several excellent ideas on recruitment and retention. I've given that to our membership coordinator. And Paige responded, Emily, amen. They often want something new out of there every day.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you to the virtual chatters, and thank you to Eileen. We have more questions at the mic. Jane?
Jane Austin, District 7, currently with the Zonta Club of Minneapolis, but for many years I was with the Jamestown, North Dakota Club. And when I was there, I kept saying, we need to reach out, find some new people. We had really good diversity, but we hadn't tapped into the medical field at all. We had a regional hospital, in fact, a new one that came in, and it continues to expand. And recently, since I've left Jamestown, because the club was providing a substantial funds to the sexual assault nurses, that gave us a segue to engaging the nurses there. And I think when I went in once for an annual checkup to a new physician assistant, I really regretted I didn't have a Zonta brochure to hand to her and to provide more information. So if you have a female PA or nurses you interact with, or you're interacting with the sexual assault nurses through support programs, engage your medical community in your area through those opportunities, increasing awareness at the very least, and of course through presentations.
Thank you, Jane. Yes.
Hi, good morning, Christy from Newport Harbor. And it's a little bit on the Chamber of Commerce thing, but in Orange County SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, has a Women in Business program. And so quarterly they have a breakfast. You can get an exhibit table for like $50. You get to do a 1-minute infomercial. That's actually how I found Zonta. So it's a great cause. They also do an annual Women in Business conference. So if SCORE doesn't exist, there's also NABO, which is National Association of Women Business Owners. And there's also a lot of times local organizations that are women specific. So that can be a great idea as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sally,
Yes.
a few more comments. When we are meeting face to face, we recruit interested people to learn more about Zonta as they attend one of our fundraisers or events. We invite them to come to a meeting and go from there. Seek out women's networking groups. They network, but do not engage in service and advocacy, which they may be interested in pursuing. I really understand the feeling of being someone with a certain background and not wanting to continue on in that role within Zonta. But if you are an accountant and do not want to be seconded into the treasurer role, would you consider giving the treasurer a bit of advice or a bit of a hand?
Great. Thank you. Well, thank you for all that feedback. And see, it's not so hard. There are things that are available in every community, like a chamber, and there are specific organizations, but we got a lot of great suggestions that you can use locally.
So we all know in our regular recruiting, the power of the club meeting. We gain so much from seeing each other in person. That's why many of us are here. We miss seeing each other. And it's the same way if you go to a club meeting. So having a club meeting or a committee meeting is so powerful in terms of recruiting people. And we know that the benefit, there is a great benefit in meeting with each other. Another benefit is in our club activities. So in service, for example, you can participate in an activity where you will maybe, in this case, this is a Habitat for Humanity Women Build. You may be building a home that where the woman is participating with you in the build. That might be an opportunity to recruit. Also fundraising. Holding an annual golf tournament, you can attract all kinds of people to Zonta who might be interested in your activities by putting a display on in the clubhouse, for example, that talks about it. But it's what's really, really important is you have someone come and visit your club, making the ask. Often I hear from someone who'll say, why didn't you join Zonta sooner? And the response many times is, I was never asked. So making the ask person to person, as you can see here in the picture on the left, is a great way to meet someone face to face and say, would you like to join our Zonta club? And answer any questions they may have. But you can make the ask virtually as well. As you can see, Sally and I have reenacted here on the photo on the right, even via Zoom or the telephone. Electronically is a great way. Just don't forget to make the ask.
Just a couple more comments. Ellen Spaeth, in regards to helping out, even if you're not the club treasurer occasionally or the tech person. She just replies, always happy to help. I'm typically on the audit committee to do the review of the financials. Then we have Josetta. We just printed our brochures and club business cards. Each member received 10 cards and brochures. It helps to have a card handy and a brochure to hand someone as contact info about what Zonta actually does. And then we had a previous chat that talked about DEI, and Kathleen was asking, Joanna was asking Kathleen, what is DEI? And then we had Angela giving out some websites. Elizabeth talked about when they had a fundraiser, when it's the lens of diversity and inclusion, always make sure that those two areas are covered. When she was talking about the letters DEI, Kathleen meant diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's it.
Thank you, Eileen.
Yep.
Okay, we've talked about how recruiting, how we start with recruiting face-to-face, but how is virtual recruiting different? This is really the heart of this workshop. So this is the meat of it. So what we want to do is to share some examples of how you found potential members virtually. And we're going to start with our panel. They have some great ideas. Becky, you have an idea for us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so as the millennial contingent, I think that a lot of people my age really go online first to try to find new things to do, whether it's hobbies, friends. So for Zonta, there's two websites that I wanted to share. The first is Meetup. Our district actually last year did a whole meetup campaign where we gave free meetup memberships to the different clubs. Now, how meetup works is that your club can make a profile and say, you know, just that, what you're looking for, that we're a club when we meet. And meetup is pretty generic in that it can be for all sorts of things. And then on that same vein is Volunteer Match, which is similar to Meetup, but it's volunteer specific. So whereas Meetup could be for people who are interested in dogs or hiking, Volunteer Match is for people specifically looking for volunteer experiences. So again, your club can make a profile and say, hey, we're looking for volunteers, whether that's for an event, like if you have a Luna Fest and you're just looking for one-off volunteers, or for people to join your club saying, hey, we meet on the third Wednesday of every month, come join us. And people can then submit a message saying that they're interested and reach out to you, and then you can begin that conversation.
Hey, Becky, can you tell us off the top of your head what the websites are for Meetup and Virtual Match, for Volunteer Match?
Yeah, so it's just meetup.com and volunteermatch.com. And that's how we were able to use Volunteer Match to actually get one of our new members who was a young professional. Her name was Chetna, and she looked through Volunteer Match and she was able to find us there. She messaged us, we began that conversation. And then after we were able to make the connection, she eventually became a member.
Thank you. So that's meetup.com and volunteermatch.com. Sharon, I'm sure you've got some great ideas about how virtual recruiting is different.
Right. So one of the things I do is look for your past members, and we have them all over the world. People move, people change jobs. And many of us are connected on social media platforms. And our only connection with these names out there is Zonta. And Karen's going to talk a little bit more on this subject shortly. Personally, I try to build a connection and friendship with my Zonta sisters, and I stay connected with them when they leave Zonta. 1/4 of my e-club are past members, several of whom I brought into Zonta, sometimes for the second time. A few examples, Teresa, who is from Mexico, I brought into Zonta in 2002 with a former club I was in. Well, she currently resides in Mexico, and there are no Zonta clubs, unfortunately, in Mexico at this time. I brought her back to Zonta because we have the e-club option now in 2018. Another member I brought back was Dahlia. Brought her the first time into Zonta. She retired, started traveling around the world, and the e-club was a perfect option for her. Again, maintain your connections and those friendships. In today's world, it is so easy to stay in touch. Another thing, look for past scholarship recipients, JMK, Amelia Earhart, etc. Our club is very proud to have 3 past AE fellows in our e-club.
Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, sorry.
My turn.
Karen.
Karen, I'd like for you to tell us about how we confirm that
Oh.
people we don't know.
She's still on the first one.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I apologize. We're still doing examples of how you found potential members virtually. My apologies.
So as we were recruiting for our new e-club, one of the things we found we could do is use social media. So many of you may be on social media,
Does
maybe
Sharon
you're
have
not,
been
but
on
every
this one?
Zontian should have a LinkedIn account. Whether you're an actively employed or not, it is a way to connect with business connections that you've had in the past, current ones. When you connect to somebody, I'm always amazed when I find someone I'm connected to who's connected to someone I know. It's all about relationships, and that's what we are about in Zonta. So do some investigation through your contacts in LinkedIn, through people you know, through people they know, through people they work with. When you're looking for specific classifications, you can be searching. You could just put in general searches in LinkedIn and look for specific professions or maybe a specific geographic area. You just gotta treat it like a research project and start looking and investigating. Facebook is another way, and even though you might not think it's really useful, I found that for 30 years, I've been a member. And when I started using Facebook, you know, you hook up to other Zonta clubs and Zonta International. So when I get things that are interest to me, I would repost and share it with my friend group or publicly. And so I've been doing that for a decade. And when we started chartering this group, I have two friends. One I've been friends with for 30 years, have always talked about Zonta. And the other I worked with for 8 years. I put something out there saying, hey, we're chartering a new club, and I've been posting Zonta things forever. And so both of them responded to me and said, I'm interested. And I was shocked because my friend Paula in Milwaukee has been my friend for 30 years. And I've asked her multiple times to join Zonta, and she always said no. So it's all about timing with your friends and your contacts and your relatives. So if you're posting on Facebook all the time, people are well informed in your life of what you're doing and what's important to you. And you can use that.
You keep the microphone. So the next question, and Karen, I would like to hear from you first. How do we confirm that the people that we don't know embrace our mission?
So be a detective. As you can tell, I'm always researching things on the internet. I say the number one place to go is Google. Just Google people. You have some prospects that are interested or people in your community you might like to invite. Put their name in, just say their name into Google, into the search line. Did you ever Google yourself? Really amazing what comes up. I've served on boards and I've posted things, and that all comes up in Google searches. It's amazing. So that's a really great way to find out what people's passions are, what they're engaged in, what boards they serve on, where their donations go. Annual reports come up for not-for-profits because everything's posted, and you'll be amazed at the names that what will come up under people's name. You can also search Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you know, those are more personal. So you find out what's important to people, and you might find a real affinity for the mission of Zonta within people's personal profiles.
Thank you, Karen. Becky, do you have something to add?
Yeah, so for me, it's really about their response to what we do. So I like to talk to the person specifically, let them know about Zonta, because a lot of times, as we've sort of discussed during this conference, not everybody knows what Zonta is, what we do. And you can really tell from their response if they're interested or if they're like, oh, okay, that's nice. So if you're really telling them about our service projects, I like to go really specific about what our club does. And a lot of millennials are really interested in doing that active work. They want to get involved. They don't know how to get involved. They think maybe they don't have the skills or maybe they don't have the experience to do that. So when I tell them, these are the things we're doing in our community, this is how you can get involved, I see a lot of times them light up and be like, oh, that's so exciting. I didn't realize I had that opportunity, or I didn't realize you guys were doing so much in the community. I'd love to get involved with that. So really their response is a good way to know if they would be a good fit or not.
Thank you.
So say you have new members now. How can you make sure they stay? How can you welcome new members? So Karen, do you have some ideas on that?
You know, it comes out of the stand. Oh, it comes out of the stand. You can just pass it.
Oh, well. One thing we've been doing in our new e-club is we've asked every member, and this applies to a new member that you've invited in or a prospect you're introducing to your membership at a virtual meeting, to do a pictorial biography. All it is a collage, a single page collage of words and pictures that describe the person's life. So everyone in our club has done this. We've all taken an opportunity to share our life with the members. We're in 6 states in our e-club. So we have not met each other. And so it's been a really fun way to get to know where people work, see their pets, their children, their grandchildren, what's important to them, the music they like, the trips they take. And it's all done in kind of pictures, and they get an opportunity at the meeting for 5 minutes. It comes up on the screen of our virtual Zoom meeting, and they can talk about it, and people can ask questions and find out, you know, the similarities among the members, which is kind of fun.
So Sharon, what do you do to welcome new members?
Again, being inclusive, building that relationship, staying in touch with everyone, keeping the connection and friendship, those are vital. This applies to both traditional and the e-clubs, and starts from the moment you meet the person, either prospective or when you're welcoming them into the club. Ask what their expectations are, and are we meeting their expectations? Or what do they want to see us meet? Making the induction ceremony into Zonta memorable and special for them. I've been a member of 2 different Zonta clubs. And when I was in the traditional club, during the induction ceremony, the sponsoring member would present a Zonta pin. And we all have these from, you know, 2 years ago at a convention, somebody gave us one, to 30 years ago, some of us. And take that special pin, you present it to the person you're bringing into Zonta, and it just makes you feel like you're being included, and that you're very special to this organization you're belonging. Zonta International's website has many wonderful membership tools, such as the new member certificate, a new member orientation. You saw the Welcome to Zonta pamphlet that President Sharon was talking about. Check it out. There's a lot of tools out there. Create a new member packet and send it to them virtually of all these different things that are out there, and create your own, a club brochure, for instance. Another thing we do, excuse me, is we have invested in an electronic card account, and one of the uses of this account is to send a Welcome to Zonta e-card to our new members. Those are just a few items.
So how can we leverage the leadership development opportunities in Zonta as a recruiting tool? And Becky, I think you wanted to start us on that one, leveraging leadership.
Yeah, so for a lot of our young professionals or just younger members, we might not be in a stage in our career where we've been able to supervise people, have management roles, or maybe we are actually thinking of switching careers. And in Zonta, there's that opportunity for leadership development and to take on leadership roles that maybe we want to try out that we're not able to do so in our career. So that might be, you know, whether it's the opportunity to take on a leadership role like a vice president or a president, or whether that's the opportunity to network in our community and be able to learn more about who our elected officials are, who the leaders in our community are. That's something that's really appealing to younger members, and that I think you can really advertise as a benefit of Zonta, to say, hey, this is something that you can put on your resume. This is something you can talk about. These are the skills that you can learn, whether it's training or whether it's just taking these opportunities yourself. And that's something that, you know, I think a lot of younger people would appreciate and might not really think about unless you bring that up to them.
Thank you. And Karen, I think you have something to add.
You may know already that Zonta International has a website that's very robust with resources, training materials, and specifically leadership and skills training. I invite you all to take a look at those resources and use those as a tool for recruiting. Let people know that that's available to them, and it's free, and they can do it in their own time when they have it available. And it can really, I think, be a recruiting tool.
Sometimes you have members who have difficulties, and what can you do to make accommodations to assist members because after all, that may make a difference on whether they stay or leave. And I think, Becky, did you have something you'd like to add on that?
So President Sharon sort of alluded to this morning when people were asking questions about the different paying dues, and especially for younger members who might be not stable in their careers yet and might not have, you know, as much money available for dues. What our club did actually was, when a young professional joined and didn't realize how high the dues were, she sort of took us aside and asked, like, would I be able to sort of figure out some sort of a payment plan? I just started a new job and I can't really at one time afford this, but if I could break it up into, say, 3 payments over the course of the year, that would be a lot easier for me. So we really need to think about the flexibility for our new members and how we can meet them where they are. Because if someone is just not able to pay those dues at one point, but you know they're going to be a rock star member and really bring a lot to your club, it would be a shame not to figure something out. And I'm not saying, you know, have them not pay dues at all, but figure it out. Maybe it's pay half now, pay half later, break it up monthly, something so that you're able to provide that flexibility for them, so that the new members feel that they're not just, that they have an opportunity and that you're able to help them figure out how to make it work.
Sharon, you have some other ideas?
Yes, there's a lot of people, even in today's world, that they're not computer literate. They're not very good with the computer, with the phone, with anything. And like Becky was talking about, it's important to be flexible. And one of the members in Mexico, we have 2 that are in the country of Mexico in my club. This person knows very little about computers. So for a very long time, I would call her about an hour before the meeting and I would walk her through it. And I mean, you have to have patience and take the time or whatever, but that made her feel like she was important to our organization. She's important to Zonte. She's important to our club. Just take the time to help them, because not everybody is computer literate. Another of our members, even in today's day and time, she didn't have email. And I would take pictures of the agendas or the roster or whatever documents we had sent out, and I would text them to her with the photos or whatever. And I didn't have a problem doing that. It took 5 minutes to do that for her, and it made her feel comfortable, and it made her feel included. And then one last thing is ensure you have dial-in options for your meetings and help those members that are having issues. Just because the instructions are on the email doesn't mean that the person understands those instructions. So just take a few extra moments to help them out.
Thank you, Sharon. How about chat? Do we have anything, Eileen, in chat that?
At this point, we just have kind of a support network comment going on here for, you know, the collage idea and some of its uses, you know, placing in the newsletter, posting it on social media, you know, incorporate into virtual events. Also, calling it maybe a member moment, and there is support for the young professional discounted membership fees, and also flexibility about when people can participate in, you know, in time, when they are, you know, flexibility as far as projects and so forth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now it's time for our breakout. I know you've all been waiting patiently for this. What we'd like for you to do at your tables is to brainstorm with each other on how to find people online and how to confirm that they will be good Zontians. And this will be the case for our Zoom breakout folks. Will also have this opportunity to go into their breakout rooms and discuss the same issue. We'd like for you to have someone at the table who would report out for you in case, we're not going to call on everyone. Obviously, we don't have time to do that, but we may call on you to tell us what your group has come up with.
And for the virtual groups, we've assigned a discussion leader so they don't have to spend any time figuring that out. Okay, Ellen, it's time to push them into their groups.
Those of you in the room can begin your discussion. Hello.
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 Hi there. Are we gonna be separated into breakout rooms?
Yes, I believe
Or are
so.
we one big group?
I think
no,
we
I
are,
think-
aren't we?
No,
Right now.
they're gradually going into breakout rooms. So far, 30 have been invited into breakout rooms. So if you'll just be patient, you should see a little list on your screen that says Calvert Baxter is inviting you to join room. Please click join. Okay.
I haven't had that yet.
Lori, I have to treat my eyes right now, so I'm not gonna go to the breakout room.
That's okay, Kath. It's okay. Don't worry.
Oh, there's my invite.
Yeah, the invites are coming slow, so please just be patient.
Sure, no problem.
And if we just give it a couple of minutes and we're not in a breakout room, then we will host our own here in the big room. So not to worry, we'll all get our sharing in.
adapt.
You guys are doing such an amazing job, Lori. So
Thank
Oh, thank you. It's all new.
we're all learning together, I think, in many ways, more ways than not.
So there's just, she's pushing them all in.
I can't scribble notes fast enough. I know that. I don't know if I'll be able to read my writing when I get done or not.
But I are the slides on the Cincinnati website?
All the slides for all the 12 workshops, not just the virtual ones, will be posted next week on the Cincinnati website.
Now, when you
That's
when you say
wonderful.
Cincinnati, do you mean Cincinnati Club or the NAID?
The Cincinnati Club is housing the North American Interdistrict
Okay.
meeting. So on that website that you've been going to register, everything
Okay.
will be there.
Okay. Okay. I just didn't want to have to bug somebody next week going, I can't find the breakouts.
No, they'll all be there.
Yeah. Because the ones I originally had signed up for was the leadership piece of it. So unfortunately, I won't get a lot of the communicate part of it, but at least I can kind of get a gist of the idea of what they talked about.
Paige, are you still here? Okay, I see Paige. Paige, I'm going to message them to pop you back in.
Okay, thanks. It just disappeared when I went to click on it.
I'm going for coffee.
Yeah. Right, so we get, so let's say
Okay, we have 15 here still to be assigned. 14. Anyone who was in their own meeting room and then has come back to this room, we will host one. So
I just got an invite for Carol.
Okay, bye.
If we didn't get an invite, does that mean we're staying here?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Lori.
Hi, Nita. There's 15 of us here that are still. So
Who's taking notes for this one, Lori?
Nita, if you would, that would be great.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll go ask.
So we have
Okay, good idea.
a few here. So Nita, if you would like to get started, I'll let you host this meeting.
Oh, good. Could I have a sip first? Holy smoke. Good morning, ladies, and welcome to this breakout session. It's kind of funny that Lori asked me to do this because I'm not the most. Oh, I've just got invited to join another room. I'm going to say not now. Anyway, hold on. We had some really great suggestions. So how to find people online. I'm going to just start with something that just happened recently for our club. And it certainly wouldn't necessarily be available to anyone. We have a new member who, among other things, runs an online service for women professionals who are working on their own. And what you get to do is there's a 10-minute Q&A, and it's posted and it's available to other women to see. And they also put it on their Facebook page, but it's for professional women. And she asked if we would do one for Zonta. So I had the opportunity to do that. And so she's posting it on her network, and we're also putting it on our Facebook page because it's basically a Q&A on what Zonta is all about. So that's one opportunity to look for things like that you could recruit people. This is just new, so we haven't had anybody ask about membership, but does anybody else have any ideas? Don't all talk at once. Can you hear me? Oh dear. Hello? Hello?
No, we can hear you, Nita.
Okay, because I'm not getting a response from anybody. I just asked if anybody has any ideas for finding people online. And you heard what I just said. So I'm just wondering if anybody else has any.
We use Facebook. I do Facebook events and then have hybrid socials where I create a Zoom event and then invite people currently to my house. And then people that I've from my friends circle, I ask members if they have any.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
5 minutes left?
Yeah. So it's, I've done enough direct sales in my life that it says, don't ever quit asking until they flat out tell you, don't talk to me about Zonte anymore. So I'm the broken record. I just keep asking, whether it's online, whether it's in person, and I'm a big card sender. So I send a lot of cards to people.
That made me just think of something, and I know I'm supposed to be a facilitator, but I know Brampton Caledon has this as well, but we have note cards. They're blank inside that have the yellow rose, and then on the inside left portion is the Zonta logo and the contact, an email contact for our club. Anybody else have anything like that?
I use one of the greeting card websites where they'll mail them for you. And I send out cards to members to just, hey, thinking of you. But I also do that with people that I'm currently trying to recruit. So it's that just staying in their face. I love the idea of wearing the pin. I think wherever you go in a group, we also have Zonta face masks. Wear them wherever you go. Get people to start a dialogue.
Have you had any? I'm hearing myself. Have you had any online events?
We do our fundraiser last year online, and we're doing it online this year, but mostly for recruiting new members, it's been hybrid. So they're here in my living room, but they're on the television and everybody can talk to them, and I set the screen up so they can be a part of the room.
I know that I'm gonna Zonta grab. Wait a minute, I gotta turn this. Yeah. I know that Zonta had an online tasting that I attended. Had a number of people who weren't club members, and it was a real event. And Toronto had an online dancing class. We were taught to do the samba. So there are things that you can do that are fun, or speakers. How about anybody else? Do you have anything that? No? Oh. Looks like they're getting ready to go back. Well, we did hear a lot of good ideas from the panel. We have one club in Canada, and I know they do have some recruiting issues, but I think that once clubs are going to look at a hybrid version of meetings, it may be more attractive to potential members.
I took that list of 100 things that was on ZI site, and I made up the bigger than a business card that I gave to every one of our members, saying these are the 10 things or 3 things that you need to remember about Zonta. And it was the mission and purpose and a couple ideas. And then the back of it was, we challenge you to start a dialogue. And then each one of the cards had one of those. Out of about the 100, I think I picked 10 or 12 of them and sent it out to every member and said, I challenge you to do this, and one of them was wear your pin. One of them was talk about Zonta at a networking event. And everybody got a card this week to nudge them to remember Zonta isn't just once a month at a business meeting. Looks like you're getting ready to report out, Nita.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you, ladies.
Okay, remember what I said about pulling people back after breakouts? Thank you for respecting our time. We were actually running, so we're adjusting. Okay, now we'd like to hear some of your ideas. So if you're really anxious to share, hop up to a microphone. We're going to call in a few tables in the room and a few virtual. So we'll start with a virtual one because they knew they were going to report. I'd like to call on Joanne Raymond because she graciously acknowledged my email. Joanne, please unmute yourself.
Good morning, Sally and Judy.
Good to hear you. What did you decide at your virtual group, Joanne, on how to find people online and how to confirm they'd be good Zontians?
All right, I did unmute myself, but then the host muted me again for some reason. We thought we should have about 10 more minutes. We were so into our discussion, we ran out of time. But many of the ideas that were mentioned by the panel were also repeated by our group. None of us are e-clubs. We are used to dealing with face-to-face and getting people to join by recruiting them face-to-face. However, someone mentioned one idea that wasn't mentioned by the panel, and that was going by reading your newspaper in your local area. Quite often they're talking about people who are interested in nonprofits, or they're doing something that are very close to something that maybe the Zonta Club is very involved with. And they felt by contacting some of those people, getting names via some of the information that's in the newspaper is a great way to find people. And again, you might have to Google them to get the contact information, because newspapers don't always want to share emails, etc., of someone that's been written about in the paper. they've also kept saying, someone mentioned that in everything we do as Zonta, you really got to promote, and you got to promote through social media, Instagram. The website needs to be up to date. And I will underline that that is so important, because if your website is out of date and doesn't have good contact information, you'll lose some of these online people immediately. So that's something that we also felt was really, really important.
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you for setting the pace at not repeating what's already been said. We appreciate that in the interest of time. I'd like to call on one of the tables, and I see no one at the microphone, so I will call on Brandy Harrington's table. But it's not Brandy.
I even brought my high-tech device.
Please tell us who you are.
Hi, my name is, everybody doesn't know who I am. Are you kidding me?
It's for the recording.
I see. Peg Dowling. I have been a Zonte since 1974, a former governor of District 6. I currently belong to the Zonte Club of Oak Brook, Illinois.
Thank you.
Yeah, Anna's. Yeah. Okay. So we came up with a number of ideas, which culminated in, I'll tell you what they culminated in when I get to the end, but so we liked researching other organizations that are operating in our area with similar goals, creating name recognition by volunteering to be a speaker at other organizations' meetings, using and joining the Chamber of Commerce, posting events on Meetup and other such platforms, doing mutual service projects with other organizations, setting up a table at flea markets, farmers markets, etc., just to promote Zonta in general, keep in touch with scholarship recipients and or their family members, and have an alumni event with past award winners. Professionals go to professional swearing-in ceremonies for lawyers, accountants, etc. We'd like to deal, contacting retirement organizations like SCORE. And in general, we can sum up our entire list by saying we would like to troll and cyber stalk people.
Thank you. Holly Anderson, would you please unmute yourself and share?
Hi, everyone. Yes, we only had 3 people, including me, in our group. So we had a small group, but in addition to the panel suggestions for e-clubs, one of the members joined after her standard club disbanded, and she was invited to join an e-club. So that's something that you could reach out to people in areas where their clubs have disbanded and invite them to join. During this pandemic, our club has really broadened its social media, and we've held electronic meeting events there where we've widened the group that we normally invite people to. And we've also been engaged for the pandemic in many more local outreach projects that are consistent with Zonta's mission, including donating to the sexual violence clinic at a hospital and food banks. And that's made people very interested from our social media, which we've improved. And we've got new members that way. We've actually got quite a few new members during the pandemic. And the way that we make sure that they are interested is we have a meeting with them to discuss Zonta's mission and the expectations before we ask them to really commit.
Thank
And
you,
that's
Holly.
it for me.
Thank you very much. Tammy.
Hi, I'm Tammy Hagan from the Madison Club. We did try to focus specifically on finding people online. And we sort of came to the 2 windows we have on the world, which is our website, making sure it's up to date, obviously, relevant, colorful, and having a link to, I want more information, I'm interested in your club, and having that monitored and answered promptly. 2, obviously mining the social media, having vibrant posts. We mentioned that videos seem to be really much more attractive than just typing up text and tend to get more likes and comments. The interesting thing that I explored with people at the table who were more informational than me was actually mining that comment field. So if there are people that are, you've put out stuff to the public and there are people that are responding and saying, oh, great, that's a great idea, we really like that. Answer their comment and say, if you're interested, could we get together? Could we message each other, give them more information? So really reach out to those people that have expressed interest through social media and mine that by getting back to them. So.
Thank you, Tammy. What a missed opportunity when someone does respond and we don't respond back to them.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, do we have one more virtual group to call on? And that is Kathleen Douglas. Could you please unmute yourself?
Thank you very much, Sally. Not too much to add to what has already been said, but perhaps just to reiterate about the value of social media, inviting the public to attend your meetings when you have a guest speaker. And then graciously saying afterwards, thank you very much. We're going to go into our business meeting now and wait till they're off the line. But just opening up the club to the public is a really good idea. And taking advantage of the social media, has been said, that has absolutely been tremendous for our club. And participating with other groups, sharing other groups' social media, retweeting, just being part of the community, sharing information. And I think that's one of the things that we want to be just seen and aware. We've also had great luck having people of importance, such as our mayors, promoting our club through International Women's Day, through anti-trafficking, and they carry a lot of weight, and their social media contacts are much more extensive than ours. So I think it's really been important for us and very successful to just really kick up our game, our social media game. I think that's about all.
Thank you, Kathleen. And
Well,
we have,
sorry, while we're on the social media, Zonte International has a Facebook page and Twitter, and they publish videos and all kinds of interesting posts which can be reused and reposted by clubs and districts. And they are really, really a good source of getting interest in Zonte through your local club and website.
thank you. And we have one last person table at the microphone.
Hi, Melanie Tripp with Zonte Club of Billings, Montana. I'm, like many of you, I'm task orientated in here. So while we were at our table, I took the opportunity to create a Facebook post. I tagged my traveling companions as well as Zonte USA and Zonte International and the hotel here as well. So when you do that, all of their friends and all the people that like those pages see those posts. So if you took pictures on your trip, I would encourage you to take a minute to do that. And when you get home or when you have time, share it on the rest of your social medias if you're on Instagram or LinkedIn or any of that. So.
Thank you. Great tips. Thank you very much. Eileen, do we have anything new in the chat? Anything that hasn't been covered? No repeats?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just a reminder that all the ideas that have been shared today work in any club. It can work in a traditional club. It can work in an e-club. So let's remember that it's not hard. We just have to make time for it. We've heard a lot of great ideas today. So at this time, we want you to take a minute to write down for yourself at least one thing that you're committing to your club right now that you're going to take back from this workshop and that you're going to implement.
And you can get all those ideas from the notes from the workshop or whatever you and your group talked about, but it's important for you to carry back at least one idea that you have committed to implement.
And we have someone at the microphone.
Susie DeBar from the Zonte Club of Billings. One thing at our table was on your social media, if you're holding a position in your club, such as secretary, president, update all your social media with your title, because every time you update something, it will post out. And once again, it will draw attention to what you're doing and possibly inspire other people to get involved as well.
Thank you. Yes, our Zonta roles are part of our professional profile, and let's not forget that. Thank you. Okay, is everybody thinking of and writing down their at least one thing, Karen? There's someone going to the microphone.
You should follow Sally, Karen Patty from the Zonte Club of Sanibel Captiva. Follow Sally on LinkedIn and you'll see some great examples of things she posts on LinkedIn. And you don't have to create content. Sharing is really a great way, especially from ZI, if that wasn't said. The one new idea we had that hasn't been talked about is don't be afraid to budget some money for a Facebook targeted ad campaign. They start, I just Googled something, it can start as low as $5. And especially if you're a really small club or a really old club, could be a great way of adding members and diversifying members. You may have more money than members, so don't be afraid to pay for a targeted campaign.
Thank you. Never heard that one before. Thank you. Okay, does everybody in the room have something written down or do you need more time? You're all committing to taking something home. I'm asking the question now of the virtual group. I can't see you, but I trust that you've all written something down and you're taking it back to your club. So that's the purpose of these workshops, is to get something new and implement it. Don't just listen and say that's nice and go home and act like you weren't here. Okay? So with that, we have a website to share. This is the tools for the membership committee. And we talked about the 100+ ideas for retention and recruiting, but there's a lot of other tools out there. So, and for every committee in Zonta, by the way, but we're promoting membership in this room right now. So please use these tools that are out here and improve your clubs by bringing in members who fit those diversity gaps to make your club stronger. And don't forget about retention as well. So you got to bring them in, but you got to know why people join and you got to be able to deliver what they joined for. So don't forget to ask people what's important to you. And if it's something we can't deliver, tell them before they join or when they join, and manage that expectation to something that can be delivered by the club experience. Okay, any final comments in the room, things that we haven't heard yet or on chat?
Be
Okay.
sure and check this website often. There are lots and lots of tools that are coming up every few days. They post new tools, so check.
Hi, sir. We just had a question at our table because there was a couple times where it was mentioned specifically focusing on why they would be good members or how you know. Are people pushing back on some of these online ideas, or is there a reason that we've had so much discussion about that? We were just curious at our table why the need to say, like, how do we make sure they're going to be good members?
Right. Thank you for that question. That was, we thought of that because we're talking about, if you do research online, like we're talking about, and you haven't met these people, we want to make sure they're a fit, right? So that they'll stay, so that we can retain them. So if it's somebody you know in your life that you know more about them and you invite them to a club meeting, you're pretty sure they're a fit, they're going to like Zonta, and they're going to want to, if they join, they're going to want to stay. But with a complete stranger that you've only Googled and brought to a meeting, but you haven't had the time or the relationship investment, it's just, that's what we want to talk about is, you know, what you want to bring in people that have a propensity to stay. So it's just trying to find ways to ensure success for retention when you're bringing in people that you don't know so well. But let's not forget to bring in our family members and relatives too, because we know them the best. And that's one of the club questions in our club, Karen's and mine. I called all the members up one by one and asked them 5 questions. And with the specific questions, even Karen and even Sally had ideas that we didn't have last year when we were recruiting to start a new club. So questions like, you know, who in your life empowers women? And they think of people, you know, not Zontians, but anywhere else. And I asked every member of our club 5 questions and we got 75 new names that they're out talking about Zonta with and going to bring to a meeting. So it's a matter of, if you make it everybody's job, and it is everyone's job, you can't let them wait for everybody else to bring in people. So that's why we're talking about recruiting. And recruiting is something we can measure more easily than retention. We have one time a year to measure retention, and that's after all the dues have been processed. And recruiting is something you do all year long, and so we can see the activity. There's someone at the microphone.
Hi, I'm Nancy Krauthamel from the Zonte Club of Pittsburgh, and I also serve on the District 4 membership committee. Some of what you were just saying reminded me of something that we talk about a lot in our District 4 membership, and it really fits in because you're talking about who you want and who you know to join. And since so many of our people are like me, of a little older group, our daughters, you know, remember your daughter might be a good person to bring in. I don't have any daughters, but I do have nieces, and I've talked to them about it. So I think it's a good thing to really not forget.
Thank you. And granddaughters, get the younger ones. Okay. Well, thank you all for attending today. That's all we have. And I hope this was successful in giving you new ideas, but I also hope it was successful in getting you fired up for this afternoon and tomorrow morning with different workshops, different topics. And everything in this room is being broadcast, and we are recording all the sessions in this room and we'll be posting them. So feel free to go to the other sessions because you have an opportunity to see what goes on in here later. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.